of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, creator of all things and everything, King of the universe. Unto him and him alone do we give glory. Thank you for joining us another day here, giving thanks to the Most High God for preserving us and being with us and allowing us to be here with you once again. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there, praying that the Creator will continue to bless, keep, and protect each and every one of you. I know that now that the days are a little bit longer, we are starting a little bit before the Shabbat day, just to give time to people to be able to catch the full lesson, because people tend to fall asleep as soon as the sun go down and don't catch the whole lesson. So just tune in a little bit earlier as you're making you're flowing into the sun going down, and listen to some of the words and catch it that way, even while you're eating your meal, whatever it might be that you're doing at that time. Just tune in a little bit earlier now that the day's a little bit longer. So thank you all for joining us once again. We appreciate all that y'all do for this channel, and keep tuning back in and coming back and listening. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Let someone know about the show, about this podcast. Let them know the kind of content that we have. Just share it amongst your friends and amongst your people who are interested in this type of content. So we thank you all once again. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything. I'm giving due respect to the leader of this congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Yediel Ben Yisrael, praying that the Most High God be with him, his family, his household, bless them, and also praying that the Creator will continue to God keep and protect us from all harm, seen and unseen. So at this time, we're going to move straight ahead, and we're going to go into the portion that we will be reviewing, and that portion will be Korak, which is found in the book of Numbers. So I'm going to turn it over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
All right, great, Baruch Hashem. Got a little frog, but I'm going to hold him down for a minute. First of all, I'd like to praise the Supreme Telling Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Due respects to the platform I'm on, D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yeriel Ben Saska, to the host, Chief Uzzal Ben Lewi, to the princes, chiefs, Rabbinate, Kohanim, Maureen, brothers and sisters and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, in an early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off with Adonai Septai Daku Fiyagi Tiatheaka. Oh Lord, open down my lips and my mouth should declare that praise. I'll be dealing with, as Chief Wu has said, the Sidra Korak. We left last week talking about fringes, so I'm going to address one question I've seen. I only seen one question on there about the fringes, the ZCs. And the question was, if you have fringes on and you don't have the cord of blue on the fringe, are you keeping the law? Are you not keeping the law? Is that correct? So technically, you got two instances about fringes, one in Numbers and one in Deuteronomy. The one in Numbers are specific, and the ones in Deuteronomy is more of a general and tell you how to tie the screens. They used to work at the lean. And Deuteronomy, it don't mentions the blue. Only in Numbers you get a specific, description about putting a tekelet, and there's always the debate about which shade of blue it is. It's a fringe, whether you have the, on the four corners, whether the blue is not on it or not, but the full compliance of the commandment is to have a cord of blue on it. I'm aware of different traditions that's out there, and I'm sure many of y'all are aware of different traditions out there. But the specific elaborated in Numbers, which is the where it's more directly from the Creator, as opposed to Deuteronomy, which is more Moses giving a little bit more insight about certain things. I would say that the way you find it in Numbers, that's the full compliance with the commandments. I know a lot of traditions have it, even amongst the Kabbalah sect. The majority of them follow their Rebbe, and they don't wear the blue until the Messianic period comes or something like that there, because it's a discrepancy concerning the blue and where it comes from. Around my circles, blue is blue. That's and I will leave it at that. But the main thing is, you got those there, and what the purpose of it, to look upon it and see it. We had the discussion about a blind man, and then you can have a discussion also about a colorblind man who can't distinguish between colors. That's another story issue you could discuss amongst your teachers. But now I'm going to go into this portion here of Korak. And Korak itself is a very interesting character. And what's really interesting is that now the first Sidra that we encounter in the Tanakh, named after somebody, an Israelite with an interesting and not too savory of a character that's employed here, and yet I would have have you discuss different things with your teachers, because as we go through the Sidra and we talk about this individual Korach, who's actually the first cousin of Moses, is that he wasn't no lightweight. He was very popular guy, very knowledgeable guy, and very a man of his great esteem. So, and there's a lot of different commentaries concerning the character of Korach, and so we're going to explore some of that stuff there. And we notice that all this taking place now, you got a reminder with the fringes, and then now we're talking in reference to some other troubles and issues that's coming up. And most of the issues that's going to come up is once we was already told not to go forward to fight those other people and enter the land, because we didn't want to go at first. We didn't have faith at first to go in the land. So now we got the prescribed edict of 40 years to wander in the wilderness until all the generation die off. And when you look at a situation like that, you say, wow, now a death march. I got to look, and pretty much if you believe in the word of God, that everybody that you're looking at that was numbered from 20 years old that was able to go to war, that wasn't from the tribe of Levi, of a certainty that they only have a time limit to live. So, and when that time and when that day come, it's almost like a death sentence in a jail sentence, and if you're sitting on death row. And that's a very traumatic thing to deal with, in essence. So how would you adjust your mental capacity and your spiritual outlook on life if you happen to be one of the guys that's 20 years old and upwards? Mind you, the women is not part of that count. Though I'm sure women died within a 40-year period, but they wasn't part of the count. So they're not under that kind of duress. All right. Those that was 19 years and younger was not part of that count. Those that was of the tribe of Lewi was not part of that count. So you got basically, a million plus people that's part of the count that you got to die off. And at the minimum, over 500,000. Over a minimum, over 500,000 people is slated to die within that period of time. So if you're 20, you really won't really make 60, in that area there. So let's look at, and let's go into the story a little bit and jump right into it. And the Haftorah is coming from, Korak starts going from the 16th chapter of Numbers, and it concludes at the end of the 18th chapter. All right, that's the particular Sidra. All right, so about 95 verses, Pesukim. And then when you go into the Haftorah would be from 1 Samuel, for those that read to go along with this here. The Haftorah for this particular time will be First Samuel's, the 11th chapter, 14th verse, going to the 12th chapter, the 22nd verse. So that would be the Haftorah. So it's opened up on the 16th chapter in the Mesoretic, first verse. Now, Korach, the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Lewi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peled, the sons of Reuben, took men, and they rose up in the face of Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 men. They were princes of the congregation, the elect men of the assembly, men of renown, and they assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore, then lift ye up yourselves above this assembly of the Lord. Now, without going back too far, when we had some tragedies, some losses already, what we find now is that you got Korach, and then you got to look together with Dathan and Abiram, sons of Reuben, and they stationed in the south. That's the position around the Mishkan. And Korach is actually, the Korathites is responsible to carry the most sacred objects of the Mishkan. And now that they're going to wander in the wilderness for 40 years, what is the issue? Now, if the whole congregation is holy, yes. Holy to what degree? Because everybody don't have the same level of holiness, just like certain sacrifices don't have the same level of holiness, just like certain objects, the Ark of the Covenant and the tablets, that's in the most holy place. That's why they call it the Holy of Holies. Then you have the golden altar, the shulchan, which is the table for the showbread, and you have the menorah, that is holy, and then you got the brazen altar outside, that is holy. So you have 3 different levels of holiness just with objects alone, just with the objects, not counting, the different levels of sacrifices of holiness, and sacredness of certain sacrifices. So to say that the whole congregation is holy, all right, that's, not a lie in that sense. Well, and then you can also argue and say you was called for a holy, a holy goal. You was called to fulfill and develop into a great holy nation. That could be another area, but God is definitely amongst them, because the tabernacle, the Mishkan is there. The presence of God is there. They have the cloud by day and the fire by night. That's there. They're being fed by the Creator is there. So they got some rationale, of facts, but in truth, in that sense, how holy are you? And that's another area there, because a Nazarite could take a vow and become holy to the Lord, which is even more stringent than most people. The Kohen have a certain sacredness concerning himself. The Levites have a certain sacredness, So when they talk about that, and then they say, "Why you, Moses, lift yourself above the congregation?" All right. So, and the Lord spoke to all them at Mount Sinai. That means Moses was there with them on the same ground level with the rest of the people when God spoke, when we read in the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter. All right. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spoke unto Korak and said unto all his company, saying, in the morning the Lord will show who are his and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he may choose will he cause to come near unto him. This do take you censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense upon them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord does choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. All right. And then he didn't stop there. So why wait till tomorrow? All right. Moses don't have a problem with identity. He don't have a problem. We just read earlier that he's the meekest man in the whole earth. So he don't consider himself above anyone, in there. But he also recognized his job, and what he's capable of doing. And then and as a leader, now you're challenging authority. You're not challenging power. You satisfied that the whole congregation is holy. So you're just saying Moses seemed to be higher than anybody else. So grant you might know, you might know more about the intricate stuff of law than the rest of us, But if I'm doing the law, concerning what God want me to do, and you're doing the law with God concerning what we're supposed to do, and we're doing the same law, then from Korak perspective, we should be on equal scale, So, but what is the ultimate thing that if he was able to take men and gather people together to go against Moses? So the thing is now, it's not a thing where you're satisfied with your lot. You have the thing of coveting. I'm coveting something that you have, and I'm saying you don't deserve that. I deserve that. So this is a pure example of covetousness right here. So as we go just a little bit further, And so he waited in the night. Maybe you could sleep on it. Maybe the next day you'll change your mind about what you're about to do. All right. Now, and then it says, and after that, it said 7th verse, and put fire therein and put incense upon them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord does choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. Now, before we go to the 8th verse, you got 250 princes. Not only got 250 princes, you got most of the congregation backing these guys. You only had 12 princes that went to the land to represent the whole congregation. 12. Where did these 250 up top guys come from? And what about was the leaders of the actual tribe, like Nachshon and the other leaders that brought the dedication? Was they part of this rebellion? Were they the main ones that was part of it? So that's a lot of questions you could discuss in there. And there's a lot of commentaries in reference to that. But that's something to consider, that Korach was influential. So influential that he didn't come to Moses with just 3 people against 2. Not just 3 and 250 against 2. But also he had the backing of most of the people. And he's from the tribe of Levi. So that means that if he's from the tribe of Levi, then he's very influential in that area there, because Moses addressed ye sons of Levi. So that's the first time that you have Levi divided against themselves, when the tribe of Levi was all collectively involved. United against the golden calf, in that area. Now, as we go further in the 8th verse, and it says, and Moses said unto Korak, hear now, ye sons of Levi, it is but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them, and that he hath brought thee near, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and ye seek the priesthood also. Therefore, thou and all thy company that are gathered together against the Lord, gathered together against the Lord. And as for Aaron, what is he that ye murmur against him? If we go to the 12th verse, we got to look at this situation in a different fashion. Is that then, they came against Moses and Aaron. But if they murmur about Aaron, the position it really is about Aharon position. Now, Moses already hinted it's only going to be one man that's going to be the priest, the high priest. Only one man going to be a high priest. So, Korah, you got 250 guys, top-notch guys. And you got, Dathan and Abiram, the tribes of Reuben. And you had On, but On disappeared later on. That's another story, but On disappeared later on. And yet, you fussing about a position and fighting over a position that only one man gonna have. Not everybody gonna have this position. All the Levi was given a position, concerning the service of the Mishkan. All Levi was given that position. All Levi was chosen to be, to serve God by serving and assisting the Kohen. All that was done. So now you get all these people to rally for a position that only one guy can hold, not two. So that's something to consider. And then who are these guys? Could it be firstborns? We read about the firstborns that had to be redeemed by a Levite, from a month old and upward. So, you had, a lot of firstborns, but everybody didn't qualify in the age to really act as a Kohen, of their particular families. So, and God chose the Levites instead of the firstborn, because all firstborns may not be cut out to do a service for God or minister before the Creator. And that's what, even in the family, everybody don't follow the family business. So as we go into the 12th, and the murmur against Aaron, that means that Aaron don't have a problem. It was Moses that had the problem at first, because Aaron doesn't care if anybody else, become a Kohen, because it's not like you can fire me from the Kohen because I'm older than Moshe. So I'm the Kohen from this family anyway. So if it was like Korak had in mind, nepotism. And it's the first area of what they think nepotism, because now you have Moses, who's the lead, is the leader of the people, and also accepted as a leader of the people. And then now, not only now you have Moses as the accepted leader of the people. Now you're gonna have your brother become the priest. So now, if you are the leader of the people, and you from Amram, Amram, and I'm from Issachar, the second son of Kohat, so why is it that I don't get that leadership position of the priesthood? Why you kept it in your family? Your sister is a leader as a prophet amongst women. You are a leader, so to speak, of the nation of Israel. And now you give the priesthood leadership to your brother. I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's right. And mind you now, the whole idea is not they didn't think they're going against God. They think they trying to promote themselves to a higher level to serve God, other than the station that God had designated for them. And then also Korak will have another issue, and there's a lot of commentaries on it, but the name Korak means ball too, as well as, cold. But that's another area, where, all the Levites had to be shaven from top to bottom, and presented for, sanctification, be able to work in the service of the tabernacle. So that would look a little bit humiliating him around some circles, but it's a humbling situation and around, most circles. And then not only that, we look at that you have over the Korathites, you got Lewi's younger son, which is Elizaphan, who's from the son of Uziel, placed as the top leader and prince over the Korathites. And you said, I can understand Gershon got his thing, and he got, who's over there, but you got the youngest son of Lewi, and you got him and placed him over us, the Korathites. Now we already got Eleazar, the son of Aaron, as the prince of princes, chief prince. So, in that sense, over the Korathites. But now you got also this other guy over us, the Korathites, and he's from the youngest son of Lewi. That's more than I can take. these issues, but this was God's command. So when you look at, go back in Numbers 3rd chapter, maybe around the 29th verse, and you see that the leader of the Korathites was not a Korathite himself, but actually, from Uziel, one of Levi's youngest fourth son, his youngest son. So this is get a little bit hard for him to bear, but they didn't have all this problem for some months. They didn't have this problem for some months. We're talking 6 months. That issue didn't show up, all that time. So now let's go a little bit further and look at the 12th verse. And Moses sent and called Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and they said, "We will not come up. Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness? But thou must needs make thyself also a prince over us. Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up." So that means they had some authority to refuse. In the 15th verse, and Moses was very wroth and said unto the Lord, "Respect not their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them." Now, what do that mean there? There's a lot of commentaries, even Rashi comments a lot on it. We mean respect not their offering. If they offer it to God, so Moses know they ain't gonna offer it to an idol. That's number one. This offering they're gonna have to God. So which one are you talking about now? The incense? Could it be the incense? Rashi hits on the incense. Other people, commentators hit on the incense. Or the investment, the communal offering, because every day is a sacrifice. And the community, bring a half a shekel to support, like I mentioned before. Also, the half shekel is used, as for sockets, in the Mishkan. But you also had to have supplies for the daily sacrifice. One in morning and one in the afternoon, because we didn't have no real evening, sacrifice. So when we do the different prayers, when they say Shakari, Menka, Madri, the prayers is related to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what the prayers are related to, not to actually the sacrifices that the Kohen would do, which is basically two, which was, the morning sacrifice and the afternoon sacrifice, going towards the evening. But it was never, 3 different areas there. And so being those are community sacrifice that's offered up every day, the part that would be considered theirs, have no respect for that. Now, that's something deep, to discuss and concept to discuss. Because if Moses could say that to these guys, but not just coming up and they offering up to God, in the sight of God, don't even look at that as giving them some kind of atonement. When he called them to come up and they refused to come up, and then they aligned the land of Egypt, which was the land of their captivity, as the land of milk and honey, and said, that you scammed us, in so many words, and so, and he talking about, I haven't taken anything from him or hurt him. So when you're saying that I left home, left everything I had, but you left out wealthy, you spoiled Egypt. So if you left out wealthy and spoiled Egypt, what are you lacking? Vineyards and fields. Did you have all that in Egypt? That's a question. When they wouldn't even give you straw to make bricks, and you're talking about the food and leeks and all that stuff. How can there be a land of milk and honey for you when you was oppressed? But that's something to discuss further. I just want to bring out some other points in reference to this here. 16th verse. And Moses said unto Korach, be thou and all thy congregation before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron tomorrow, and take ye every man his fire pan, and put incense upon them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his fire pan, 250 fire pans, thou also and Aaron each his fire pan. And he took every man his fire pan and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood at the door of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron and Korah, assembled all the congregation against them unto the door of the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. Now, what we got to pay attention to the real influence Korah had, because Moses asked for those guys to come on up. But it said in the 19th verse, and Korah, Korak, assemble all the congregation against them unto the door of the tent of meeting. That means the majority of the people of the nation of Israel was backing Korah. The majority. Very few people was on Moses' side. That means most of the nation, the tribes, all the other tribes, and part of Levi was against Moses at this point in time. That shows you the overwhelming influence that Korah had at this point in time. That Moses didn't call for everybody because he know pretty much what's about to go down. And they already had some tragedies already that had happened in their, in their life so far. And the thing was that incense, they're not going to, they ain't looking at the same thing like Nadab and Abihu. They not even consider Nadab and Abihu, what they did at this time. They're saying now this is a whole nother level, a whole nother area now, where when they're gonna bring their incense, that the incense is made up of 11 different ingredients, or more, 11 different ingredients, and only a Kohen supposed to, burn the incense in the holy place, and he does that twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. He burn the incense, and only the Kohen do it, and only one person gonna be the Kohen. So I gotta go back to that, and remind you of that. As we go further, we look, and it said, and the Lord spoke to Moses and unto Aaron, saying, separate yourself from among this congregation, that it may consume them in a moment. And they fell upon their faces and said, O God, the God of spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? Well, nobody stood up on Moses' behalf, but Aaron and Moses, fell on their faces in reference to this here, because they realized what was coming, and they didn't think they're going against God. They actually think they're going against Moses. They think, all right, the laws we can understand, but if you refute the order of the priesthood, then the danger is that you refute every law that came down from Moses, because we told them, now God speak with us lest we die. You go up and speak with God. And God said they speak well. And now you think we can understand about thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do such and such things. But when it comes down to delegating positions, I don't understand how all the positions wind up in your family, the key positions. So this will undermine the whole institution of the Torah that was brought down from Moses, not just the priesthood, but every other fabric concerning the way we're supposed to operate as a nation. So, and they don't realize that they're going against the authority, that's established by God. So this is one of the things that, and the people themselves, you wonder why, Moses praying on behalf of the people, even at a threatening situation where they come against him. So if, say for argument's sake, if nothing happened to those guys, then who's going to be the priest now? There's still been a fight going on, more and more and more. But you got 250 guys going on in a contest. And they all know what happened in their Avenue. So 23rd verse, I'm just going to read all this. I know I'm going to highlight some other stuff in here, but I want to speak on this part because rebellion and debating and argument is one difference. When you debate, you're not trying to convince the other guy. You're trying to support your point and let the listeners decide. But when you have a discussion on a subject matter, then you're trying, in that sense, saying, I want to share my view concerning this particular topic, and I want to hear your view and see where we align, because we're trying to search and get the truth of the matter. That's a discussion, But a debate, you're not trying to do that at all. The debate is, I don't really want to accept your part. You don't want to accept my part. So I want to go at you and try to destroy your premise. You trying to destroy I'm trying to destroy your premise, and you trying to destroy my premise. And we let the people decide, but we're not really pushing for a solution to build. But in the discussion, we not only listening to both other sides of the matter, but we're looking for a solution to move forward to build together. And this is not what's going on in this particular area. So as we go further in here, it said in 23rd verse, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speaking to the congregation, saying, get you up from about the dwellings of Korach, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. That's all was on Moses' team, 100%. The elders that had his spirit dropped upon him a while back when when Moses had the breakdown. All right. So he had those 70 elders, his brother, and maybe a few others, But the elders having the spirit would be aligned with Moses. But everybody else is on the opposite side. That goes to show you how much of an influence Korak had. That he is some of the congregation, not Moses. That only Moses had the elders and his brothers. And it's very little else involved in this matter. Because all the Levites was assigned by Moses, but it's through the will and word of God. So let's look at this situation, so we could understand how much of of this rebellion is bringing out. And it said, So he went to Dathan. Because remember, Dathan and Abiram wouldn't come up to them. They refused. So humbly, he goes to them. And the Lord, and he spoke unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be swept away in all their sins. So they got them up from the dwelling of Korach, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents with their wives and with their sons and their little ones. And Moses said, all right, before we get to the 28th verse, I want to bring this out because there's a lot going on in this here. It's that Dathan and Abiram, they went to their tent. It's easy to get people to move from them than it was from Korak. Because Korak was the ring leader. So to show you that Korak was very, very influential. So he just went there and he called those guys wicked in themselves, and the people was able to pull away from them. Now, you wonder what was going on in the mind of the people at the time when he was backing them all the way. And they basically backing Korach. These people, so this is the nation of Israel, so to speak. So the 28th verse, and Moses said, Hereby you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, and that I have not done them of my own of mine. If these men die the common death of all men, and be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the ground open her mouth, and swallow them up, and all that appertain to them, and they go down alive into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have despised the Lord. And it came to pass, as he made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground did cleave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their household, and all the men that appertained to Korah, and all their goods. And so they and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the assembly. Before I go into the 34th verse, and I took the time in this story because it's the main key story I want to focus on in this particular sidra, is that the miracle is that one, Korach wanted the priesthood. You got 250 princes, but they priests. You're going to have two different episodes that's going on, two different tragedies. This one, taking place right away in the sight of everybody, that the ground opened up, and imagine, how do the earth know all that you own? That's a divine thing in itself. All that belongs to you, so that means right then and there, and only you it takes down, and all that pertains to you. Your families, the little ones, the children, and, people would say, why the children? Why the little ones? Why the wives? Moses gave them an out. Said, everybody leave from this wicked man, And then we find out also later on that when we get into the numbers, in the Sidra of Pinchas, that the sons of Korach didn't die, in this area. So that means the sons of Korach actually left. And I'm going to just speak on that in a moment. But let me just finish this particular episode out. And it says, where was that? Okay. Okay. All right. 32. All right, 33. So they and all that pertained to them went down in the pit alive, and the earth closed up upon them, and they perished from among the assembly. 34. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, lest the earth swallow us up. Because they were supportive. If you're supportive, why you moved away? Why you moved away if you're really that supportive? 35. And fire came forth from the Lord and devoured the 250 men that offered the incense. Now, the priest supposed to offer incense. That's number one. Korak wanted the priesthood. We won't find it from the text directly. You find that Korak was swallowed up. But according to some criteria, Korak had got two tragedies. That's from kind of criteria. I'm just sharing this out. Not that we won't find it, and I'm making it clear. It's not in the text. That he will also, if we're talking about 251, because we use round numbers in scriptures, that he also tried to offer up incense because he really wanted to be the priest himself, and that was his main goal and object. But he died he got burnt and swallowed by the earth. So he had a double portion of problem. And it's almost like a person that caused people to sin. You're doubly at fault because you cause another person to error. So you're going to be doubly responsible because you're going to contribute to this. You're contributing to the sin, and you cause somebody else to contribute into a sin. So some views is that he also got burned and swallowed alive before he died. So the fire didn't really kill him. It was just swallowing alive as well as he's burning. So that's, you don't have to accept that view, but I'm saying that that's one of the views that's out there. All right. And I figure I'd share that with you because he did want the priesthood. So if he want the priesthood, why don't you do something that the priests do? And you got these other guys gunning for the priesthood, and only the priest can offer up incense. So that's just something to consider as you go forward. And then we find out then that it said the Lord spoke to Moses crying, saying, speaking to Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, and that he take up the fire pans out of the burning and scatter down the fire yonder, for they are become holy, even the fire pans of these men who have sinned at the cost of their lives, and let them be made beaten plates for a covering of the altar, for they are become holy, because they offer before the Lord. They were offered before the Lord, that they may be a sign unto the children of Israel. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen fire pans, which that were burnt and offered, and they beat them out of the covering of the altar, out for the covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, to the end that no common man that is not of the seed of Aaron draw near to burn incense before the Lord, that he fear not as Korak and his company, as the Lord spoke unto him by the hand of Moses. So from this point here, from this last verse, it would imply that he also had his sense of pain as well. All right. So this is not the end of the thing. I just want to bring out, a couple of things in this, just skim through it a little bit. So, and since there's only a couple of chapters, here, it's very a lot that's going on with this area here. So, so one of the things we learned about the censer pans, though they was offering to God, their pans was holy, but they wasn't holy. They was destroyed with holy fire in that sense, because the intention was to serve God. Sometimes your intention to serve God, and you get too close, not being prepared to serve the Creator, that could cause you a problem. Now, one of the things is that when those that study the makings of the Mishkan, and more so the brazen altar, it was basically wood and you had copper around it, but it was halfway up on the sides. So one of the miracles that you're watching every day when they're offering up the sacrifices, that how do an altar that's have wood and they have copper around it not be burnt up when you burn up flesh? And then it just put the rest of them there, not to protect the altar. The rest of the way the altar is now finished all the way up to the top with brass all the way around it. But it's not to protect the altar, but to remind people of an event of challenging the authority of God and bucking for the priesthood. Now, we're not going to even stop right there, because after that, people was not even satisfied. It said, but on the morrow of all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, ye have killed the people of the Lord. Now, how did Moses kill them? When he said, and they heard in the presence of the, that Moses said in the presence of the people, that a new thing happened. So Moses had the power of speech. That God was more, but then look at God slaying these people. Then look at Moses being responsible for slaying these people, and say, these are the people of the Lord. So what do you mean the people of the Lord? You fled and ran, and yet Moses praying for the people to save a lot of us at that time, and yet they come back. They slept on it. All right, they slept on it. So it means we got to take a break. So they slept on it before the contest, and they're sleeping on it now before they come up with some other issues concerning Moses. So that means that what kind of night sleep they had? What was on their mind when they went to sleep? These are some of the things to think about as we go forward. And then, so it's so, and not only that, they charged Moses and Aaron for that crime. Kill the people of the Lord. And it came to pass when the congregation was assembled against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked towards the tent of meeting, and behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, take thy firepan, put fire therein from off the altar, and lay incense thereon, and carry it quickly unto the congregation, and make atonement for them. For there is wrath going out from the Lord. The plague has begun. So we don't know what was all the conversation that went down. There's always commentaries on it, but I'm saying from the text, we don't know what happened, what transpired. But God, that's what the people talking. And these people now, they ain't satisfied. They taking revenge. Of course, those 250 princes have relatives. All right. Dathan and Abiram had relatives. Now we know the sons of Korach, they survived. Like I said, we find it later in the book of Numbers and in the Sidra of Pinchas. And we see a lot of Psalms that was written by them. One of the Psalms they say is on Monday concerning the sons of Korach. But one of the interesting things that that I like to share about the vision of Korach, because he was a very charismatic and outstanding individual. Just that he went to the dark side, as we say, as we would say, in the sense that according to tradition, they said that Samuel is a descendant of Korach. some say he was a priest, some say he was just sitting in Korak. But being a prophet, you could do a lot of stuff, when they're talking about sacrifices. But but they say Samuel was a son, was a descendant of Korach. And the Torah that goes along with that, with this particular portion, is similar, and they rejected, Samuel felt he being rejected, as opposed to Korach, rejecting Moses' decision to have his brother as the Kohen, and Moses designating positions like it didn't come from God directly himself. So the people themselves was going to be slain by God because they were getting ready to do something down to Moses and Aaron. And yet Moses told Aaron, the same incense that caused death, going to have to save life. And now, one of the things is that you don't find a priest at a graveyard. But Aaron was told to get incense and fire from off the altar and go before the people, because the plague had already started. And then it goes on to say, and Aaron took, as Moses spoke, and ran into the midst of the assembly. And behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed. Now they that died by the plague was 14,700. Besides them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moses unto the door of the tent of meeting, and the plague was stayed. Can you imagine? Only 3,000 died in the golden calf. Only 3,000. You're on a 40-year march. So a lot of people died earlier than necessary. Now, we don't know if that was the number of the people, that was 20 and upward or younger. We don't know, because we know that Korach young ones, Dathan and Abiram young ones had went down in the grave ground with them. But that's a large amount. So that means these rebellions and atrocities is worse than the sin of the golden calf. Can you imagine that? Worse than the sin of the golden calf, because we have more casualties, in that area. So now, the last thing I want to speak on right quick about the rod, and but there's much more going on about the priest portion, because the priest institution and the service of Levite is enhanced, just in case I don't get to it at the end of this thing. And talking about tithes. So when you're going against the priest institution, going about the Levitical job and trying to destroy it, God enhanced it. So you got more laws and more things in this particular chapter concerning how he enhanced the priest's job, about how he benefits from it, also how the Levites benefit from it. But I would just want to speak on this last portion here. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and take up them rods, one for each father's house, of all their princes, according to their father's house. 12 rods, thou shalt write every man's name upon his rod, and thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi. For there shall be one rod for the head of their father's house, and thou shalt lay them up in the tent of meeting before the testimony, where I meet with you. And it shall come to pass that the man whom I shall choose, his rod shall bud, and I will make to cease from me the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against you. All right. So that means they think they're talking about Moses and coming against Moses, but God said, I'm gonna make them cease. I'm looking out for you now, not for me. And 21. And Moses spoke unto the children of Israel, and all their princes gave him rods for each prince, one according to their father's houses, even 12 rods. And the rod of Aaron was among their rods. And Moses laid up the rods before the Lord in the tent of the testimony, All right, another thing. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses went into the tent of the testimony. That's a different thing, not the Mishkan itself. And behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded and put forth buds and bloom, blossom, and bore ripe almonds. And Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord unto all the children of Israel. And they looked and took every man his rod. And the Lord said unto Moses, put back the rod of Aaron before the testimony to be kept there for a token against the rebellious children, that they may be made an end of their murmuring against me, that they die not. Thus did Moses as the Lord commanded him, so did he. So now, and I'm just going to come one more verse after this, and I'm going to be concluding. All right. One of the things is that if you had, if you're looking at the contest with the census, those guys died. It's obvious Aaron's a priest. Why now bring out the rods as a check? Why? What would be the need for the rods? I mean, 250 guys died plus. All right. The plague hit the people and they murmured. Aaron still got some incense and some fire, still between the dead and the living. Now, what's strange, the priest supposed to stay away from the dead. In this case, we know that when it comes to a Nazarite, that anybody died near him, he become unclean. The priest supposed to be like, not supposed to be in the grave or in a building, place where somebody a dead body that, et cetera, like that. But only rabbinically they talk about how close a priest be to a dead body where he become unclean. And but a Nazarite, and they also have a rabbinically thing where they talk about it's the distance of a body dropping near a Nazarite that he become unclean. But in the book itself, Aaron run before people and he's still between the dead and the living. Not that he touched the dead, but he's still between them, and he's holy and pure enough to do that. Now, you could say that's a one-time thing, whatever the case is. You could discuss it further with your various teachers, but that's an interesting, event that took place at this time, So now Aaron did all that. So what will be the need for the rods? You would figure that should quell the argument. Nobody should say anything other than that. The plates that's beaded on was as a memorial for people stepping out their lane. That's put on the altar that, that's being in the courtyard. So that's a memorial that people shouldn't step out there, their respective roles, and they were murmuring because they, still was unsatisfied with a lot of relatives and people dying, emotions, as opposed to understanding the reality of faith in the law, and so this is what we have here amongst our people of Israel. So when we talk about and we consider why we have so much of a setback, well, we can look at some of the social structures back here. With all this, they were strong to do wrong. And some people are like that in life. Some people in life will never be apologetic. They'll never say they're sorry, never apologize for, something they did wrong. Or they can never see that they did it wrong. And so they never, ever apologize in life. You got to, force them to a certain situation. But it went further and said, one of the things is that 12, not 13 rods. Some brothers think it was 13 rods because they think about Ephraim and Manasseh. Only one will put a rod on it, with with the leadership on. So since you had the leadership of a particular tribe, we don't, they always have a commentary about who name might have been on the rod for Joseph tribe, because there's only 12 stones in the breastplate, even though you have 12 tribes, not counting Levi, but Levi's stone is counted on the breastplate. Levi is counted amongst the 12 on the mountains when we cross over. So now, when we think about the rod, it says the leader, that one man, like I said earlier, the priesthood gonna be one guy, the high priest. High priest only gonna be one guy, and whoever descends from that one guy, they could be priests in the future. But that one guy. Now then, I went through the whole process of the Mishkan setup, the whole process of Shemini, no problem. But I got to constantly remind that all these issues come forth now because we on a 40-year death march, to the generation die out, or if you don't like the term death march, a Persian. We're going through a Persian period, a sanctification period. They're going to take basically 40 years with some good time in between. So another thing I'd like to bring out is that the almond. The almond is one of the, according to Torah, there was a nut, it's considered a fruit, according to Torah. Now, I know we can talk about nuts and fruits and stuff like that in today's society, but according to the Torah, almond was a nut, is considered a fruit. I just want to bring that little thing out as well. And also, it said it budded and blossomed and bore an almond. So an almond not only bud and ripen, grow faster than any other fruit, but the thing is that an almond tree is one of the, as far as I can recall, is the only tree that you would have a bud, a flower, and the fruit, the finished product, all at the same time on the tree. Now, I spoke about an ethro, where an ethro, you have beginning ethros, old ethros, ripened ethros, all on the same tree. That's different, So the ethro has a different look. So when those that might want to do a little study on it, the ethro, you have young ethros, ripened ethros, old ethros, all on the same tree. Well, with the almond, you have its beginning, its process, and the finished product all at the same time on the same tree, which is, a unique, in that sense, and it ripens early. So in that sense, and it says that some of the metaphysical parts of it is that we got to be able to join our very beginning as we go through the process to our finished process, as we go through a process of developing, that we all got to join. We got to join all that together, and we can't lose ourselves on our development. So from the budding to the flower to the fruit, we got to all be able to harmonize and work with that in our lives. So this is some of the lessons that you learn from the almond itself, the almond tree. But one of the things that that it brought out, that it's not about the tribe that was important in this here. The tribe then wasn't important. It was the individual that was important. So that's why only the name of the leader of the tribe was put on the rod and not the tribe name. you know, and every man had to get his own rod back. So it's the leader of the tribe and not the tribe name. So it was the individual that counted and not the tribe that counted. Hence, the individual was Aharon, who actually would be representing that tribe. So that's something we learned there. And it's supposed to be kept, you know, to quell the murmurings. So in the last verse, I'm going to finish off right here. It says that, and the children of Israel spoke unto Moses, saying, Behold, we perish, we are undone. We are all undone. They say that twice. We are undone, we are all undone. Everyone that cometh near unto the tabernacle of the Lord is to die. Shall we wholly perish? Now they're getting afraid of the institution, you know, because now it's all about the institution. Just like, what did we build? What did we come up and develop? That so many people died more with this tabernacle being around and our sanctity not being held to a certain level than we did when we didn't have the tabernacle and when we had the golden calf. You know, what, you know, I mean, so do we really want this still to be around? So, you know, when Moses, you know, talk about the Levites' job and how they're going to safeguard and the penalties and stuff like that. That's throughout the rest of the 18th chapter, and then benefits of the Levites for doing their job. That even if a Levite's out of order, you know, and doing the wrong thing, he could lose his life. If a priest do something that he know he's not supposed to do, he could lose his life. So all the regulations is put here in this particular portion here. But main thing is about the whole thing started with covetousness. And since it was covetousness that it started it, you know, some people couldn't let it go and they acted upon it. And even seeing it and sleeping on, having time to reflect, they still, their own envy, you know, was more stronger, you know, than the sanctity that they claim to have. So I hope you got something out of what I said. Any mistakes been my own. And leave, you know, any comments or questions in the chat. I'll try to look over them. And, you know, if I can answer the questions, I'll answer the questions. I don't know if my host is there. So let me see if I can pull them up right quick. Let me see what let me call them right quick. Just bear with me just a moment.
I'm sitting down right now.
Okay. So, you know, as this month to the month of Tammuz, and as we go through this particular month, they had the fast of this particular month, which is a day fast that's come up this, the 17th of this particular month. So, and then we go through those 3 weeks of Toros after that of admonishment. So let's be prepared.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thank you for your insight and for your wisdom. Praying that the creator of heaven and earth will continue to bless you and keep you. That the Most High God will bless each and every one of you. Thanking the creator of heaven and earth for all of our lives. Praying that everyone has a good night Shabbat sleep. And Yah willing, we'll see you next week. Shalom, shalom, and everyone have a blessed night's sleep. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.